Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise with Rana Al-Assas and myself, Muhammad Abdurrahim, from the Ormond Garden here in Giza. And the word is out. Ocean levels are rising. Global warming is giving us more hurricanes, heavy rainfall, and 4 times more flooding than we did in 1980, and drought in other areas. This is especially noticeable when you travel close to coastal areas or flood zones, and researchers help to minimize damage caused by climate change. And as Egypt prepares to host the world in the City of Peace in Sharm el-Sheikh for COP27, and to rally the world behind this great cause for mankind, we are talking how to fight global warming and how to preserve our environment and fight climate change here on Nile Cruise. And with us is Dr. Engineer Sayyid Sabry, and he's a climate change and also a climate change consultant. Thank you very much, Dr. Sabry, for joining us. Thank you. Dr. Sabry is also an engineer. He specializes in chemical engineering. So, Dr. Sabry, first of all, how do you look forward to COP27? I mean, this is a big chance for Egypt, which is speaking on behind of for Africa, and not only for itself in this summit, and which is trying to rally the world, because Egypt is very obvious, and the political leadership is a believer of fighting global warming and of preserving of our environment. So how do you look forward to COP27 in the City of Peace, Sharm el-Sheikh?
I think COP27 is a very important conference because of many reasons. The first reason is that this COP is I'm hosted by African country, as a leader of the African countries, Egypt, of course. And in addition to that, it's very important in order to build on what have been mentioned in Glasgow, COP26 in UK, regarding the transfer from the the says and the pledges into real actions on the ground, regarding the finance and technology transfer and the capacity building, because these are the tools and the means of addressing climate change issue. That's why this conference is very important to Egypt, not only from the political point of view, but also from many aspects regarding the increasing the awareness regarding the tourism, because we are going to host about 30 to 40 persons, experts from different sectors from all over the world. And this is very important, and this is a very comprehensive advertising to the importance of tourism in Egypt, because all these events will be mentioned on the broadcasting and the televisions all over the world, and this is very important. The second issue is that Egypt will expose the activities that have been done already in Egypt, the mega projects like the renewable energy projects and the national network and the electrification of the public transport, and also the activities in the agriculture sector and in the water resource sector. All these activities and the mega projects with its high success will be presented during the COP. And this is very important in order to attract the investors, the international investors, and of course also the national investors to be a partner of this campaign. The next years we need the partnership between the private sector and the public sector. This is very important, and this is very important from the economic point of view, the tourism, also the investment, and in addition to increase the awareness of the public, the people, the Egyptian people. And now we are seeing many NGOs are addressing not only the environment issue but also the climate change issue, and participating in new ideas how to address climate change with some initiatives, which is very important. And I think I have participated in many COPs before, but this is the first time I have seen that the public society, I mean the civil society, have many initiatives addressed from different ministries and addressed from the presidency initiative, and also from other donors that encourage these initiatives. And these initiatives, you can take some of these brand new initiatives that can be used in the future. There are other many profits from this COP, also addressing the concerns of the African countries, because in fact, and this is my opinion, that there are many challenges facing COP27, because if these aims are satisfactorily addressed and achieved, Egypt will be in other era. That's why I have some concerns about the challenges of that may face the COP27. One of these challenges, of course, we have seen that what have been happened for Corona, COVID-19, then the supply chain crisis, affecting also the world economic crisis, and finally the Russian-Ukrainian war, which affects majorly the energy problem, the energy crisis all over the world, and in particular in European community. And we have seen that some of the industrial countries like Germany and the others intend to go back to use the coal and the fossil fuel, because they have an energy crisis, and they can make the reasons why they do that. This is really a challenge. The other issue is that I have a concern that some of these industrial countries withdraw from their commitments, from the financial commitments, from the commitments regarding the technology transfer, and even from the commitments that they should do their homework. I mean, they should decrease, they should reduce the emissions. And if they are going to coal and fossil fuel, of course, they will increase, not to decrease. So my hope that these challenges can be overcome by the efforts of the Egyptian government, and also by the aid of our friends. We call it Friends for Development.
Okay, sir, Egypt has battled an annual water deficit of approximately 7 billion cubic meters over the past few years. By 2025, the country may potentially run out of water entirely. Some call to reuse water as a resource and not as a threat. What are your thoughts on this statement, sir?
I think this statement is true. Really, there is a deficit in the water budget for Egypt. Egypt needs 116 billion meter cube of water, but our budget totally about 80. This 80, about 59.5 from 55.5 from Nile, and some of the outer underground water, and others from the rainfall on the northern coast, and a very, very small amount, about 0.35 billion meter cube from water desalination. If we add all this, the sum is about 80. So we need now about 36. Part of this can make from the reuse of water. I mean water treatment of the wastewater, okay? But still there is a deficit. That's why we have to make governance of water use by even by the people themselves. To use the water even in the house, in the different in the factory, and reuse it again through treatment, in order, because this is a problem, and our budget from the Nile will not, hopefully not to decrease, and will not increase. This is a constant budget.
Yeah, the share of the Nile waters.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Dr. Sabry, and you are also, of course, an expert on sustainable development. Could you tell us about some of the solutions that Egypt and the world may use in order to fight climate change at the moment? I mean, solutions that are to be implemented by the government, by the private sector, by the people themselves in their ordinary lives?
Yes, at the different levels. Regarding the technologies, Egypt and all over the world, also the other countries, should use the new technologies and clean technologies regarding energy technology, regarding agriculture technologies, water resource technologies. All these should be environment friendly and have low emission. We call it low carbon technologies. This is first of all in order to have a sustainable increasing economy, while in the same time reducing emissions, not barrel but one increasing, because this shouldn't be on the expense of the economy. We improve our economy, in the same time we reduce the emissions. This will not be done unless otherwise using low carbon technologies, modern technologies like the renewable energy. Among of these, the solar energy, the wind energy, bioenergy, geothermal energy, all these types of renewable energy. In addition, of course, the other segment is to use efficient appliances and technologies, like the LED lamps for the lighting, like using efficient motors for the frigidaire and the air conditioning. All this, there are new generation of these appliances which are low, of course, maybe for the price a little bit higher, but on the long term they are economic, because the bill of that you will pay will be less. This one. Regarding the policies, there are policies that encourage the people, encourage the institutions, encourage the factories to use this through some incentives in order to encourage them. Awareness is very important for the public and for the civil society, because everyone, if he use efficient and some behavior, change his behavior in order to be use efficient lighting in his, for example, in his home, lighting, using air conditioning, and even using the waste, because waste is one of the sources of emissions. For example, I always use this example. the woman and whatever in the house, and they bought some things from the market to prepare the food and get. They should buy the exact amount that they need in order to avoid leaving waste. And this waste, this is a loss of money, and in the same time, this is a source of emissions. This can be done on the scale of the school, on the institution, on the factory, and every governmental building. And in such a way, a huge mass of the people share in this way. Not only depending on what the government will do, because the government will never do the whole activities. There is a very important role for the private sector and a very important role for each person, for each citizen in the nation.
Okay, sir, of course, if we come to discuss the unique ancient heritage that we do have here in Egypt, so archaeologists are sounding the alarm over the threat climate change and population are posing on the country's ancient heritage. What is the impact of climate change on the archaeological sites, sir?
I think there is a negative impact from the climate change on the architecture heritage.
How are we going to resolve
there's a change of the temperature from the extremes, from the highest to the lowest. Also, this, you know, that there's some expansion, shrinkage, and also the change of the level of humidity will affect, because this the heritage, I mean, the architectural is very sensitive to the change of the temperature and the change of the humidity in the atmosphere. That's why there is importance to keep such heritage in a way that should be not, to be exposed openly to the change of the environment regarding the climate change. And this is very important, but this is a difficult issue, but it can be done if we do our best in order to keep this architecture from the exposure to the open air and to these extreme events.
Right. Dr. Sabry, a lot of people do understand the importance of preserving the atmosphere, of keeping our earth clean, of protecting the environment, of fighting global warming and climate change with all its negative repercussions. But a lot of people also feel that there are more urgent needs at the moment, imminent needs. I mean, you mentioned earlier when you were talking, yes, the world needs to fight climate change, but because of the fact that we are just recovering from the coronavirus pandemic, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, because of the high inflation in the world, because of the rising commodity prices in the world, some countries are resorting to energy sources that will pollute the environment further. So you, as an ambassador for for fighting global warming, for fighting climate change, we want you to try to convince our viewers, to try to convince everybody watching us of how important is the case of investing into fighting global warming and fighting climate change, even if we have other pressing issues at the moment, and even if the transition to renewable energy or cleaner sources of energy will take time and will be a bit costlier in the beginning, but in the long term it's for the better. So the floor is yours.
The reason of, as I mentioned, my concerns regarding the challenge that will face COP27 and maybe the further COPs, it is not justification for the industrial countries to do what they intend to do, because facing and addressing the climate change problem is very, very important and very crucial. And why? Because as we see, all the what we have seen regarding the flash floods and the extreme events and the hurricanes, this is the output, the outcome of the previous reductions, the previous emissions, these two past decades emissions. So it means that what will come will be worse and more worse than now. So this is should be addressed in now, not to delay it. And since we have a problem regarding, as I mentioned, economic crisis and the energy crisis, this is not a justification. This is not a reason, unless otherwise all the countries.
And there are conflicting interests,
yes,
Dr. Sabry. I mean, the developed countries are in a different phase than the developing countries.
Yes.
There are different,
yes,
conflicting
they can
interests.
withstand what happened, even the economic crisis. But what about the poor countries, the developing countries that are affected, and they are not the reasons of these emissions? So this, I think, this is a type of selfishness of and greeding of the developed countries, and this is mentioned many times in facing them. But they don't care. They will make what they can do, and what they cannot do, they will not. I mean, they will prefer their interest more than the interest of the African countries and the developing countries.
A lot of challenges definitely ahead of COP27. Egypt, a leader now, a global leader in fighting global warming and in fighting climate change with the will of the political leadership, will be speaking on behalf of Africa and many developing countries. And we wish for the best, and of course it shall be a great event, and we wish for the results of the summit to be as great as the organization will be and as the atmosphere will be. We thank you very much, Dr. Sayed Sabry, the sustainable development and climate change expert and consultant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome at any
Dr.
time.
Sabry.
Thank you. I am happy to be with you.
Thank you. Great pleasure and great honor.
Thank
Dear
you.
viewers, my colleague Ronald Assas and myself will be back shortly to resume this edition of Nile Cruise. Please do not go away.